Okay, I am going to do a tutorial on how to make a stitched tag design. In this design, this particular one I'm making for the contest that S. Carrie Lee has for a logo, and I just was playing around with different things, so I decided to record this one. So I'm going to name this one ACL. The width needs to be a 600 by 450. I want to make my resolution 200. You can make that whatever you want it. I'm going to leave the background as white because I'm going to change it anyway. Um, Here I'm going to go up to edit, or you can do a shift 5 and fill. I want to fill it with the foreground over here, which is black. Click OK. Now I'm going to click a new layer. Here I'm going to bring in my template for my tag and commit it by hitting enter or the check mark at the top. I'm working in Photoshop CS4 Premium, so a lot of these options will still be available in a later version. If you're working in Photoshop, you'll know where to find a lot of these options that I'm going to mention. Okay, we have our template up, and what I want to do is create another layer on top of that and select my pen tool, and all you have to do is just click on each point of your template like so, and close. Now we have our template. We can select the template and we can trash it. We have our path made. There's our working path. I'm going to name that path tag. When you name the path, it saves it. So anything you do from here on out, if you create any more paths, which I will be doing, it won't overwrite the path I already have made. Now what we want to do is go over here and select a new color. This can be any color you want it to be. I want mine a deep red. So I have that selected, so I'm going to click OK. Go back to my layers. This new layer, I'm sorry, could go back to my paths. I want to open up my brush box. Hold on. Select brush. I want to choose a hard brush. Let me see if I have any in here. Let me go in and load my brushes. Basic brushes. I don't want a pen. I want all new brushes. I select 16, but I'm going to change the diameter of that brush to 15. Now I want to select my brushes options. It's in brush tip, and we want that just like it is. Make sure nothing is on, and we're going to go back into our paths, and we're going to click on options and say stroke path. Make sure your brush is selected in the drop down menu. Click OK. It's going to outline that and make sure it did on the right thing. Yes. Okay. Right, double click on that. We're going to give that a bevel and emboss, and we want to change the size of that to a 1 and click OK. Now we're going to create a new layer, and I want to reset all my brushes. Reset my brushes and click OK. That way it turns everything back off. We're just going to slide that to the side. I don't want to turn it off because I'm going to be using that a lot. Okay. In here, we're going to put in our sackcloth now. So I already have that loaded. So what I want to do is go over to it, control and click the thumbnail and make a selection out of it. You can control C or edit copy that sackcloth. With that path turned on, go down at the bottom of your screen and load that path as a selection. Okay, we already have it copied, so we're going to go in and paste into our Shift Control V, and that's going to paste that sackcloth into there. Okay, gonna go back out. That layer should be behind there. Okay, we want to create put a hole in here. So what we're going to do is select our ellipse tool and shift left click. What that does is keeps your selection proportionate. All sides are equal. And click delete. Click delete. Okay, we have that. What we want to do now, we've got that name, so we're going to create a path out of that selection. Down at the bottom of your screen, make work path from selection, and that creates a new selection, a new path, because we named the other one, so it doesn't overwrite it. Double click in there, and we're going to name that tag hole. And okay. With that selected, you already have your brushes and everything the way they should be. I think I reset them. So what I gotta do is go back in here and reset my brush back to the original thing that I had it at. It's supposed to be a 15, and we had a hard brush. There we go. And our color is still selected, so we go in and we stroke that path. Make sure it is brush and okay. And what that does is makes that same effect that was around your tag. We're going to go back into layers. Okay. Need to create a new layer. Sorry guys. Now let's do it. Every time you do something, make sure you have a new layer, because if you don't have a new layer selected, it will put the effect over a already made layer, and we don't want that. We want everything in its own layer. Okay, we're gonna double click on that to open up the options and give it the same bevel emboss that we gave the outside of the tag at 1 pixel in size, and click OK. Now that we have that done, now it is time to do our stitching. We want to select that very top layer. Let's name these layers. Tag hole, tag outline. And I'm going to create a new layer on top of all of that. This is going to be our stitching layer. Make sure I don't have any paths on right now. Okay. We're going to go over, we're going to select our brush tool again. This time I'm going to reset my colors back to black in the foreground, because this is going to be the stitching, the shadow of the stitching. We're going to go into brush presets and choose that nice hard brush again. We're going to change it to 8 pixels. We're going to go to brush tip, and we want to make the spacing at 200. Make sure your shape dynamics is on in order to get that effect. Now what we want to do is select that path and turn it on. Make sure that your new layer is selected, and we're going to stroke that path with that. Make sure you have your brush. Okay. What that does, it gives it the dots. We're going to go back and select that layer, double click, open up our blending options. I'm sorry, no, I'm moving ahead of myself. Filter, and we're going to give it a Gaussian blur. Let me make sure I got my settings right, because it's got to be a certain amount. Make sure it's a 4.2 in pixels. Then we're going to go back to your brush preset, and we're going to change that to 15. Shape dynamics, we want the angle jitter to be direction. We want our brush tip to be 575. We want the roundness to be 20. And with that selected, go back, turn on that tag path. Flip your colors, because I want white stitching. It can be any color you want it to be, and stroke that path on the brush. Okay. And what that does is gives us that nice stitch pattern. And we're going to do the same thing that we done to the outer layer, we're going to do for the tag hole. Select that layer, create a new layer so to put a new one on top. Let's go ahead and name this top stitch. Tag top stitch. While we got it selected, go to your paths and select the tag hole. We want to switch this back to black. Change our dynamics back to spacing 200, roundness 100, and stroke that path. Brush, okay. Then we want to go over and we want to give that the same Gaussian blur. Change your dynamics back to 20 in roundness, 575 in spacing. Change your color back to white. This is all done with brush tip shape selected. Go back, make sure your whole path is selected, and stroke that path. Brush, okay. Now we can turn off those paths. There's your tag. Now all there's left to do, I'm going to reset my brushes, is add your text. I like to use impact, and I think I'm going to set that at about 45 in size. I am going to use the same red color excuse me, the same red color that I used on the outside of my tag. Click in there, and all caps ACL is the tag that I'm making. Commit it. Select your move tab. I select tool, and it's good to have your smart guides on, because it helps you line everything up. You can see the little pink guides. So that's lined up. We want to change that setting to an overlay. So it looks like it was stamped into the sackcloth. Then make another text layer, and I'm going to use Lucida handwriting here. Undo. Make a new layer, because if you don't, it'll change what you've done previously. And I'm going to change that to about 14 pixels. Click Ask. Carrie Lee. And I want that centered, so it looks like that. Select it. Change that color to black. Commit it by clicking the check mark or hitting enter. Change that to overlay as well. Create a new layer on top of that. Hold down your Alt key in your layers options drop down box. Select bring down and merge visible. What that does, undo. Turn off your background layer. Now Alt, layer options, merge visible. What that does is merges all of those layers into the new layer without merging, losing them all. So we want to turn off all the layers except that one. So click Alt key and click the eye on that particular one. It turns all of them off. I want to turn my background back on. What I'm going to do now is Control J, which will create a new layer, and I'm going to rename these tag, back tag, and front tag. On the back tag, select your move tool. I want to bring it over so I can see. Okay, front tag, we're going to Control T. We'll select that one where you can rotate it or move it any kind of way you want to. Commit it. I'm going to select the back tag and do the same thing. And I'm going to just twist it a little bit to give it an effect that they were just thrown on the table or the counter. And I'm going to line those up. You don't have to line them up. You can do it where you show a little bit of the stitching in the back. Rotate it as much as you want to. But I want to do it like that. And there you have it. Select both of them. I'm going to center them. Try to anyway. I think I want to rotate that one a little more. And there you have it. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. And you just file, save. I like to save for web and devices because it gives, it maintains a nice file size while maintaining the resolution of the graphic. And just click save, and there you have it. This is my very first tutorial, and I hope I've done okay. And thanks for watching.